Hello, and welcome to the Baker Boyer Monthly Market Update. I'm Ted Cohan, one of the Senior Portfolio Managers here at Baker Boyer. What I'm going to talk about this month is a few different things. We're going to do a recap of the market, where we are, U.S., international, and bonds. And then I'm going to talk about the current composition of the market and how it's what we call a little bit top-heavy right now, and I'll explain that. And then talk about diversification, which is something we certainly talk about a lot here at Baker Boyer. So I'll start and just kind of do an overview as to where we are so far year-to-date market-wise. It's been pretty good across the board. So on the U.S. side, the S&P 500 and the Russell 3000 are both up a little bit over 9% so far this year. The NASDAQ is up a little over 10% so far this year, and then the Dow is up around 6%. On the international side, that's been by far the best performing area. The main international index, which is the ASCI All World ex-US Index, is up a little bit over 22% so far this year. And then on the bond side, the Bloomberg Aggregate Index is up about 5%. So again, across the board, US international bonds so far so good on the market this year. And then on the market, when we're going to talk about being a little bit top heavy, what I mean by that is when you look at a market capitalization of either an individual stock or an index, what a market capitalization is, for those who may not have heard of that before, is you look at the number of shares that are outstanding, that a company has that are outstanding that can be tradable, and then you multiply that by the current share price, and that gives you your market capitalization of a stock. The biggest stock right now in the world by market capitalization is NVIDIA, which of course is all over the news, the big AI company. It's the first stock that has hit over $4 trillion in market cap. And then the second biggest is Microsoft, somewhere in that 3.7, 3.8 range. And then we have a few more in the $2 trillion range, Amazon, Apple, I think Meta is somewhere near close there. So, and what we've seen lately is, when I say a top heavy market, is when we look at like the S&P 500, which is 500 of the larger names in the market that make up that index. The top 10 names on that index, which NVIDIA and Microsoft are part of, and then 8 others, they make up 40% of the market cap of that index, just those 10 names. And if you look at earnings, they make up over 25% of the earnings. NVIDIA alone makes up about 8% right now of the market cap. It's the biggest percentage that we've had in individual stock in over 40 years of the S&P 500. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, these stocks have been doing really well. They have good earnings. So it's something that could continue for a while, but it's also something that could kind of revert and have some of the smaller, mid and large cap stocks kind of, make up some ground. And so it's something we just want to be aware of. And when we look at our holdings for clients, again, everybody has a little bit of different holdings, but our main holding for a lot of our clients on the U.S. side is the DFA U.S. Core Equity 2 Fund. And in that fund, it's kind of a similar makeup in the sense that NVIDIA is over 5.5% of that fund. Microsoft is over 5%. And then when I add in Apple, Amazon, and Meta, we get to about 20%. So again, it's kind of getting a little bit top heavy. And so what we're looking at is some alternatives to possibly make some changes to the portfolios. Again, just to be better diversified. Everybody would still have really good exposure to those large cap or mega cap names, really, but it's just being better diversified. It's very similar to what we've talked about over the last couple of years, where we've increased our international exposure several years ago with the idea that international would start outperforming U.S. potentially. It took a little while, but it certainly has paid off in the last year and a half. So again, it's just looking at the overall structure of our portfolios and making sure we've got a good diversified mix for all of our clients. So with that, I'll wrap up the monthly market update. As always, if you've got any questions, please reach out to your advisor or portfolio manager. And if not, we'll see you next month for the next update. Thank you.